Hi. I again am going to take you straight to the floor. We're going to do a abdominal massage today, and we're going to do it with our knees bent, feet flat to the floor, and our tummies are going to need to be pretty exposed. So I'm going to take my shorts, or my pants, I should say, down to around my hip bones, and I'm just going to pull this top up so that I've got the tops of my ribs exposed as well. So this is a practice of self-massage from the Taoist tradition, and I studied this with a person named Montauk Chia, who is based out of Thailand these days, and he calls it Chi Song. It's an abdominal self-massage. Now, given our time restraints, we're going to do a little quick version of it, but you can certainly take what you learn here and extend it out and do a nice half hour or an hour long practice on yourself if you like. So using really soft fingers, we're just going to start to really gently kind of catwalk around the abdomen. And what we're looking for here is any areas of tension, any areas that are very, very soft and very easy to press into. Anything that might feel a little bit tender or unusual, any gurgles, these are all normal. If the body is really, really tight and hard to press into, it usually means we have a bit of an excess condition going on. Maybe we've had a big meal. Things are maybe, we might be very stressed or something like that. It can be hard to get into the organs in that case, in which case you just want to give yourself a massage and really focus on relaxing and being nice and gentle and soft with yourself. If you find that you can press right down deep into your body, it might mean there's a bit of a deficiency going on, maybe a bit of a lack of energy, a bit of tiredness or fatigue, in which case it's nice to really focus on vitalizing and breathing down into the belly and bringing as much energy into the body as possible and getting as much rest as possible and good nutrition and all of those things. Okay, so we've sort of checked everything out. We've probably noticed if there's some tender or hard spots. We've noticed if there's some deficiency and those kinds of things. And then we're going to start to move a little bit more intentionally with a little bit more firmness through this area around the navel where the small intestines are. So I'm just using a kind of gentle circular technique, pressing with the fingertips, and I'm rolling around the outside of the navel, probably about 2 inches to 1 inch around the outside of the navel. You're looking to feel through the flesh into the organs below. And you're just going to smile and send good chi, healthy chi through the fingertips into the small intestines. And as we know, the small intestines are responsible for assisting our digestion. They help to separate the things that are helpful for us and get rid of the things that aren't. They help us to process sugars and fats and all that kind of thing. Very, very important organs, and they're partnered with the heart, the emperor of the organs in Chinese medicine. Okay, we're going to move on. You can spend the whole day there if you wanted. We're going to find inside of the right hip bone, we're going to find the cecum and the place where the small intestine and the large intestine join one another. So if you start to kind of massage down into the tissue, just on the inner sort of crease of, just about 2 inches inside of that hip bone, and it will vary a little bit depending on your body. You'll feel where there's a valve or a junction, or it might be a bit tender in your body, where the two organs come together, small and large intestine. And this is also where our appendix is, so it's quite important to massage this area because we want to keep things flowing through this space. And I just got a really big gurgle starting to massage this area. And also just energetically, it's considered a place where things can get blocked really easily. So it's often one of the first points I'll work on when I'm working on a new person, and one of my go-to spots for myself. So I'm just, again, usually using kind of a circling, spiraling motion down into the tender part of the tissue here. Mine's not that tender, but it's just a little bit tender. Okay, and again, for time's sake, we're now going to start to walk the fingers across toward the right hip bone, and then we're going to come up the side of the belly there. And you want to feel that, you'll feel through the flesh again that there's an organ beneath that, and it's a tubular organ that's coming up underneath the rib cage on the right side of the body there. And ideally, if your colon is working well, is what we're massaging, the ascending portion of the colon, then you won't feel too much impacted fecal matter or anything like that. But if you do have quite a lot of pain and hardness here, it can indicate that you have maybe some constipation or something. Again, the massage will help to move it. And there are other things you can do diet and lifestyle wise to support that. So I'm now kind of underneath the rib cage here on the right, and I'm just circling underneath the ribs. I'm focusing still on the colon. We'll come back to this right rib cage a bit later on, but now I'm starting to go along more on a kind of horizontal plane along the top, I should say, the top of the abdomen and the bottom of the ribs, right? So I'm following the colon across now. So ascending colon goes up, and then we're going across here, the transverse colon, as it traverses the top of the body. So just massaging into that. And if you find that it's quite tight and tense, just remember nice deep breaths. Lungs are partnered with the large intestine. And if we have tension in the diaphragm, it can often cause tension down here as well. So we can just imagine softening and release through the diaphragm. It's the same thing coming underneath the right ribs here. You might kind of lose the colon here sometimes, but that's okay. And then we're going to follow it down, descending colon, down along the left side of the abdomen here. And just below the navel, it sort of, again, comes down into the abdominal cavity where we find it becomes the rectum and starts to, be that place where we accumulate our poo. So I go on a diagonal now. So I kind of find when I hit just below the navel, I start to move diagonally down into the lower abdominal region. And if you have some oil, which we're not using for this just because it's easier not to use it, but you can do some nice sweeping motions from the right hip bone all the way up the rib cage, around and down. So just really stimulating that channel, or the colon itself, because it relies on peristalsis. It relies on smooth muscle function to get our poo out. So we want to keep that as relaxed and as free-flowing as possible. Okay, great job. So we're going to come up to the liver now. So I'm going to get you to scoop your fingers, and you're going to try and get them underneath the right rib cage and really press up and into that space underneath the right ribs. And you'll feel a dense, fleshy kind of thing in there. And it might feel really hard and firm, or it might feel a little bit softer. And that's going to be liver. And if you can't even get your fingers underneath your rib cage, it's fine. It's really common at the beginning. Again, you're just going to breathe and do your best to kind of visualize that you're sending happy, healthy energy into the liver. And you can also rub along the outside of the ribs over that liver organ. The liver organ comes up quite high, or underneath that right rib cage, underneath the breast, the bottom of the breast as well. So feel free to, give it all of that a rub. For a really fun experience, you can get like one finger and go in between the rib intercostals, and it's extraordinarily painful, so go gently, but it can be a nice way as well to help release the liver. And if you do laugh and tickle and giggle a lot, then that's a part of it for you as well. Okay, so we're just going to now hold the left hand over the right bottom rib cage, and I just want you to close your eyes and just smile into the liver for a moment and take a few deep breaths. And you can visualize a nice emerald green light shining into the liver. Okay, then we're going to go the other side. So left rib cage, left hand, I've got a little scoop going, and I'm working underneath the left ribs, and we're getting into the stomach. So that's kind of at the underneath part of the ribs there. If you've just eaten, it's not going to hurt you necessarily, but it might be a bit uncomfortable. It's better to do this a couple of hours after eating. And then if we move to the very outer edge of the right rib, left rib cage, sorry, getting my lefts and rights back to front, and then sort of press to the back of the body a little bit. I like to use my right hand and kind of slide my fingers underneath. Again, you'll feel a kind of denser organ at the back there, which is the spleen. Now, again, if you're very tight through here, you won't feel this at all, and that's okay. You just keep practicing your relaxation and breathing and gently moving your more superficial layers of tissue until they soften. And again, you can work on the ribs outside of the stomach and spleen. And you can put the right hand over the rib cage there and just smile into the spleen and stomach. Awesome. Okay, so we're going to come up to the little sternum and the sternal notch. You'll feel where the two rib bones come together. There's a little point, and just below that, that's a heart point. So you can just spend a little bit of time circling some energy and smiling into that space. It's just below that little notch of the sternum, so just being gentle with the sternum. So we don't want to damage or injure that cartilage. Just be really careful. And then if you take your hands a couple of inches, I find it's in my body about 3 or 4 fingers width from that sternal notch, and I go underneath the rib cage at the top there. So I'm not right over on the right hand side now, I'm a little bit further toward the sternum, and I kind of just wriggle around there. So I've got a scoop going on right now, holding the bottom of the rib cage and wriggling my fingers underneath. You can feel the gallbladder sometimes release there. Another way to do it is to use your thumbs and just press down away from the rib cage. Again, just a couple of fingers away from that sternal notch, and you might hear or feel the gallbladder into the intestine. Doesn't happen every time, but yeah, sometimes it does, and it feels quite cool. And the gallbladder feels more like a sac. There you go, mine just went. More like a sac than like the liver, which feels very dense and hard. Okay, the last little piece of this for today's purposes is we're going to get down into the bladder. So mine is a little bit full, to be honest. So I'm going to be really gentle with this. And if you are a man or a woman, it doesn't matter. This is the bladder. But women, you have a uterus sitting on top of the bladder. So if you do have a baby or anything in there, you're just going to want to skip this one. And if you're bleeding, you're going to want to feel into whether it feels good or not. For some women, it feels amazing. For other women, not so much. So we're going to create a little scoop again, and we're going to go into the top of the pubic bone and start to scoop down and into the bladder. And I'm immediately feeling like I need to go to the loo. So I'm just going to be very gentle here, but you can just do, a couple of scoops and just feel how that sort of lifts and loosens the bladder. And for women, if you do feel like you want to go into the uterus, you just go up a little bit higher and you can work on the uterus as well. And even massage the ovaries, which are basically if you put your hand, the palm of your hand on your navel, and you place your thumb and you keep your head together, where your thumb and your pinky finger roughly end up is about where your ovaries are. Again, it's going to vary a tiny bit in your body, but it's a rough guesstimate. And you'll feel over time, we're taught to like sense the energy of the ovaries. You'll start to feel where they are and be able to locate them. And if you're trying to conceive or anything like that, it can be really useful. Okay, so we're finishing up with the uterus and the bladder. For men, obviously, you can massage the testicles and things like that. Now, the last little bit of this we're going to do is just the navel region. So we're going to actually go right close to the navel, or even into the navel if you feel okay to do so. I haven't included the kidneys and the lungs just because they are a little bit trickier to access, but again, for our purposes, while we're doing the navel, we can visualize the kidneys, which are right and left, of course, and can be sort of considered, their channel is includes the psoas, which runs along either side of the navel, so we can, or sort of originates at the vertebrae just behind the navel, so we can kind of connect in with them that way. And then just placing the middle finger into the navel, and we're just going to press down and feel for the pulse. So you should feel the aortic pulse within, like just underneath the navel. And it should be just a little bit to the left of the navel. If it feels like it's really to the left or a little bit to the right, or like, you know, not even there, you're just going to spiral into the navel, see if you can feel it, at least start to clear any of the tension and energy that's building up there. And if it's a little bit too much in either right or left direction, you're just going to pull it towards center a little bit, very gently, of course, working with, big blood vessel. Yeah, just give that a little bit of a swizzle. Now you might feel little nerve tangles or knots within the navel, and that's very normal. Okay, I think I've gotten a bit carried away, but we'll stop there. We're just going to place both hands over the navel, close down the eyes, and we're just going to bake some chi, happy chi, healthy chi into the abdomen. And then just notice the overall feeling tone of the body after doing that. I always feel so much better after I've given myself a little belly rub. And just remembering to smile into your body and give gratitude and thanks to your body. Awesome. So put your costume back on and we'll come up to sit. And I will say thank you so much for being with me. So that was a at-home Chinesang Taoist abdominal massage practice. And I will see you tomorrow.